Chapter 4. The Companion Wrought in Emerald Flame. Seventh of the infernal spirits is the great Lord Bueris, Stefen reads from the ancient book, a teacher proficient in the philosophical arts, whose knowledge holds the virtues of all herbs and plants, a generous lord who grants formidable companions and governs over. Companions. They were mentioned in one of these others, he thinks, grabbing a book from the large pile on his left before setting it on the table in front of him. Though he did not have a childhood teeming with education, Kimonos had taken the time to teach Stefen to read before letting him loose to explore the ancient texts. Though unknown to him, when learning within the enchanted walls of Pagamon Castrum, knowledge is absorbed at a nearly divine rate, which gives Stefen the opportunity to gain the education he had been deprived of his entire life. He can now read and learn about the world around him, spending his life gaining knowledge and shaping the world for the better, rather than just existing in it. He has spent the last week in the library reading what Kimonos refers to as the foundations of the intellectual arts. He started by looking for some sort of map, so that he might finally discover the actual location the goddess has taken him. Yet after finding no material concerning cartography or geography, he picked up instead a rather intriguing book detailing the creation of the realms, death of the primordials, and birth of the gods. After this, he moved on to books covering the more mundane sciences of the realm, like astronomy, herbology, and biology. Once he has built himself a simple understanding of these principles, Stefen moves on to books concerning more esoteric studies, reading now of sacred geometry, astrology, and the classifications of spirits and how to interact with them. He has just been reading his way through a tome concerning a set of 72 spirits that dwell deep within the infernal realm. "I see, just what I'm looking for," Stefen whispers, running his fingers over the worn leather cover of the book in front of him. The words of the title imprinted in shimmering golden letters that read, "On the Spirits Within the Realms," a comprehensive guide cataloging and detailing the classes of spirits living within the divine, terrestrial, and the infernal realms. Stefen immediately opens it to the author's introduction, which details the contents written within its pages. Companions, discussed pages 78 to 91. The words are written in fading black ink upon the parchment. He flips through the dust-ridden pages until stopping on one that reads, Spirit Companions, a section concerning the personal spirits given to or summoned by a sorcerer. About halfway down the page, he finds the section which details the kind of companions within the realms. Concerning the Spirit Companions, there are 3 classes, the paragraph begins. The first and least common are wild spirits, which chose to become companions through the bonding to a sorcerer of their own free will. These can be any of the spirits wandering within the 3 realms. The second and most versatile of the classes are those which the sorcerer creates of their own power. Using this method, the sorcerer sacrifices a fraction of their essence to bring to life a spirit of their own creation. Because this sorcery is tied directly to the ability of the sorcerer, they possess the potential to become either the weakest or some of the most formidable of companions. "Still not what I need," Stefen whispers, continuing to read the rest of the section. The final and most common of these are those companions given to the sorcerer by gods, spirits, or other unknown beings living within the realms. These are most often given after the sorcerer has summoned and proved themselves to a particular god or spirit who is capable of bestowing companions upon the sorcerers of men. "Precisely what I need," he thinks. "If I can only find specifications on companions granted by the spirits of the infernal realm," Stefen thinks before reading on to find what he is searching for. Furthermore, it is not only the spirits of the terrestrial realm who can bestow companions, for that power is held too by those who dwell in the infernal realm. A companion can be gained in this way by summoning one of the 72 greater spirits of the infernal realm, only 11 of which possess the ability to bestow companions upon a sorcerer. Once a sacred flame is lit and the desired spirit summoned, a sacrifice of blood and precious stone is made into the fire. Should this offering be accepted, the fire will change in color and shape to match that of your companion, as the voice of the spirit which grants it speak its name. "I understand," Stefen says softly, pushing the book of companions aside and grabbing again the book of infernal spirits he had been reading from a moment before. "Seventh of the infernal spirits is the great Lord Bueris," Stefen reads again from the ancient book, a teacher proficient in the philosophical arts, whose knowledge holds the virtues of all herbs and plants, a generous lord who grants powerful companions and governs over 50 legions of lesser spirits. His sigil of obedience is this, which is to be drawn using the sorcerer's blood upon a consecrated surface. Stefen reads, looking to the right and examining the beautiful sigil drawn on the other page. Emerald is the precious gem associated with Bueris, for they are often sacrificed to him in exchange for his ritual favor. "I wonder, Do I yet hold discipline enough to attempt such a challenge? Stefen whispers as he finishes reading. If you would be disciplined enough to attempt what challenge? The voice of Kimonos asks from across the library, causing Stefen to look up from his book. Hello, my lady, he says to the beautiful goddess, rising from the chair and bowing in respect to her. I wondered if I'm ready to attempt an infernal summoning. I understand the risks hidden behind such a ritual, yet I feel that a spirit companion would aid me greatly in the trials ahead of me, he says as Kimonos crosses the library, walking to Stefen's table. The infernal spirits, the goddess begins, are ancient beings not to be summoned to solve just any inconvenience. They have dwelt in the infernal realm since its creation long ago, thus wielding powers tied to that of creation and the primordials. Why have you decided to seek out a companion of the infernal realm rather than using another method? She asks. In truth, he explains, I do not believe myself capable of gaining a companion through any method, save a summoning. Unless, he says, having come up with a brilliant idea. Would you be able to grant me one? A companion of frost and snow to assist me in my rituals of devotion? He asks. Companions can be great and formidable spirits, though sadly it lies beyond my influence of the realms to bestow such things. As you have learned from the text, it is only the honor of select gods and spirits to possess this power. While I do have the capability to summon storms and ride the wind, spirit companions unfortunately are not one of my duties to preside over, Kimonos says. However, the second of your devotion rituals is the ritual of knowledge, and unlike the ritual of faith, which required you to venture through the forest of darkness, this one you must carry out here on your own. For the ritual of knowledge, all you must do is demonstrate your mastery of the high arts. What better way to do this than by summoning an infernal spirit to request a companion of your own? The goddess says, looking into Stefen's eyes. You truly believe I am ready? He responds, excitement in his voice. Will you teach me how to do the summoning? He asks. You do not listen, she says sharply. Fail to listen during the ritual and your life may be forfeit, she warns, her expression cold as her wintry domain. This ritual of knowledge, you must complete it on your own, and all you may need to know lies within these shelves, she says suddenly, sweet, gesturing to the books around them. These would be an excellent beginning for your studies, she says, snapping her fingers and causing several books to fly from their places on the shelves, forming a small pile on the table next to Stefen. Thank you, milady, he says, falling into a deep bow. And what of the materials required for the ritual? I have read very little on the topic, but already I know that I require at least a precious stone. Where am I to find such an object to sacrifice? He asks. Down the hall, and to the right, you shall find several storage rooms filled with any instruments, herbs, or precious gems you may require for the summoning, she finishes, now walking towards the door. You're not going to stay, Stefen blurts out, shocked she would leave him like this. What if the ritual goes wrong and I need your... If you truly believe the ritual will go wrong, Kimonos interrupts him, the sharp chill present again in her voice, then perhaps you are not ready to attempt this ritual after all, she adds coldly. No, nothing such as that, Stefen says, slightly embarrassed. This will be the first sorcery I am attempting to do entirely on my own, and my head swims with doubt that I am not wise enough to work or study under you. What if this is true and I lose control during the ritual? Do not worry, my wise Stefen, she explains sweetly. You have proven your worth in more ways than one. Thus there is no person in all the realms that I would rather have here to study under me. It is time for you to have faith in not only I, but yourself as well, she says, reaching the library door. Take it slowly, calm yourself, and all shall work out in the end. I have duties to oversee and so must leave until the evening. Remember the basic philosophies and all will be fine. I shall see you later on my return, she adds before crossing through the door and vanishing out of sight. Stefen spends hours reading the books from the pile Kimonos had created, some over-manipulating the harmonies while others cover the gems and metals used in astrological sorcery. One even accounts for the terrible shapes and forms these infernal spirits take. After studying for what feels like days without leaving, Stefen has read his way through the pile of books and more, now understanding all he needs in order to summon the infernal spirit. He leaves the library, heading to his bedchamber where he cleans himself before dressing his body in the salted water of the ocean, which is held sacred by Bueris, the spirit Stefen plans to summon. Next, he changes into a set of silken ritual robes that Kimonos had placed into his wardrobe before going to the storage rooms and gathering all the supplies needed for the ritual. Finally, now in the temple of Pagamen Castrum, Stefen prepares the space before taking a calming breath and beginning the ritual opening. He sits facing the south, a large unlit fire pit standing before him as his sorcerer's supplies lay in waiting, littering the floor to his left and right. Emai aftos po emai. His voice rings throughout the temple as he speaks the first words for the ritual opening. His nose fills with the scent of freshly lit candles while his eyes stare into the round black obsidian disc engraved upon the floor. Drinking in the sigils carved into the outside of the circle, he repeats the lengthy incantation over and over again, until suddenly, the obsidian he is staring into suddenly vanishes, leaving in its place an endless black well. While looking into its depths, Stefen feels that he should reach his hand into it. He would have the power to change the world at his fingertips. His entire body tenses, for the moment he finishes the ritual opening, powers flood into his body like he's never experienced before. I must keep control, he thinks, taking a deep breath while lighting a glob of storax incense, using the candle in front of him. Hear my voice and see me before you, infernal Lord Bueris, Stefen says, gazing upon the spirit's sigil. It was required that he use his own blood in the crafting of the sigil, so after carefully slicing the pad of his thumb open, he used the crimson drops to draw it upon a thin roll of consecrated parchment. Now taking a deep breath, Stefen picks up a small candle and tosses it forward. The moment it falls into the dried kindling, the entire fire pit erupts in powerful flames that soar skyward. The fire whips and whirls through the air, raging violently as Stefen grabs a small chunk of storax gum from the materials littering the floor. The moment it falls through the licking tongue of red and gold, sweet scents like lilac and honey fill the air as the storax burns in the base of the pit. Stefen takes the small emerald from the floor to his right, engraved upon which is the infernal seal unique to Lord Bueris. He holds the gem tightly in one hand, allowing the energy and sensations of the ritual to wash over his mind and body. Though his eyes are open, his sight is blinded with flashing visions of white-hot metal, smoldering as it drips through the searing flame. The pungent odor of sour milk hangs thick in the air, drifting through his nose and out of his mouth, further turning his stomach with each breath. He feels dry, coarse sand blowing across his skin, sending shivers over his entire body as the sound of ocean waves lapping upon a distant shore echo through his head. These sensations overwhelm his senses, completely taking over his body until Stefen throws the parchment into the flames. Written upon it using his own blood are the spirit's name and sigil, along with Stefen's request to be granted a spirit companion. The details of the contract, also written in blood but on the back of the parchment, explain the terms of the agreement. In exchange for having been granted a companion, Stefen shall make a single sacrifice of his blood, along with an engraved emerald as an offering. Once this is done, the spirit companion shall be forever bound to Stefen, for as long as his soul shall persevere. As the parchment is engulfed by the flames, the feelings that overwhelm his senses begin to lessen. Just as the final bit of parchment is burned completely to ash, he uses a sharp knife to make a small slit in his palm. Now tightly grasping the emerald in his cut hand, blood washes over the engraved surface before he tosses the bloody gem into the flames. The instant it falls into the pit, a pillar of fire is brought forth, yet as the gem falls to the base of the flames, they begin to spin with the force of a raging hurricane. By the power of Venelos, Stefen chants over the blazing whirl, I call on thee, Bueris. At these final words of the ritual, the spinning flames explode around him. The fire turns a deep green color, taking the large shape of what appears to be a bird. The flames crackle with life before detaching themselves from the pit and flying high above Stefen's head. I bestow upon you the companion R.A.Cherne. A fierce and wild voice speaks with the power of 100 hurricanes. In the young of man, he is called the spirit of the truest soul. Treat him well. The voice finishes before the flames explode, knocking Stefen off of his feet and to the ground. Quickly scrambling back up, he comes face to face with a wondrous sight. A large eagle now stands before him, its razor talons and powerful legs sitting perched atop an extinguished brazier. His feathers are pure white, as bright as falling snow, and his emerald green eyes now gaze directly into Stefen's. Hello, R.A.Cherne, Stefen says to the eagle, unsure what he is supposed to do now. My name is Stefen, and I thank you for coming to me. At these words, the eagle bows its head towards Stefen. How does this work? He says to himself, frustrated at his foolishness. I should have studied how to command the spirits before summoning one of my own. What am I to do now? He says. The bird watches him, tilting her head as though listing before flying away and returning with a book titled Concerning the Functions of Lesser Spirits. "I understand. Thank you," Stefen responds to his companion before cracking the book open and beginning to study. He completes the short book rather quickly, and now having a better understanding of what his companion is capable of, the two of them begin practicing commands. "All I must do is call out your name, and you shall return to me?" Stefen asks, scared he will have no way of finding his companion once the eagle leaves. The bird bows its head, and with a flap of its wings, he vanishes in a flash of emerald green light. "Althin is Siki," Stefen says boldly, commanding his companion to return. A soft burst of wind is followed by a flash of green light before the bird soars again through the air, moving silently as it does so. "Truly amazing," Stefen says, offering his arm for the eagle to perch on. "You are a wondrous sight to behold. I shall call you Alfie, in short of your name," he says. Alfie, bowing his head in approval. "I am impressed, though not surprised," Kimonos says, having just entered the temple without Stefen's notice. "Quite an impressive companion. What is his name?" she asks. "Althin is Siki," Stefen answers. "The purest of heart, a fitting spirit to be your companion," she says. "I shall call him Alfie for short." As Stefen says this, the eagle takes flight and circles around the room before landing happily on his outstretched arm. "A beautiful name befitting a noble creature," the goddess says, slightly bowing her head toward the eagle. "Although you fill me with your pride for having done such sophisticated sorcery single-handedly, that is not why I am here to see you," she says, reaching her hand into the air. Kimonos delicately grasps around something invisible with her fingers, like trying to catch a spider web in midair, and as she does this, her brilliant wand of sorcery seems to materialize out of nothingness, now waving the icy wand over the table, and like that day in front of the castle gates, small sparkles of bright bluish-white light begin to fall from the tip. They slowly drift down like snowflakes and eventually cover the table until the bluish light starts to dim, revealing a beautiful bow already strung. "It is magnificent," Stefen says, picking up the icy white bow by its silver handle. Both the upper and lower limbs are covered in carven sigils, all of which look intricate, complicated, and full of ancient power. It is crafted by some sort of metal, yet the weight of the bow feels lighter than air, leading Stefen to believe it is crafted of material unknown to him. "Forged by the giants at my request, this bow possesses powers greater than any weapon held by men. Come with me," the goddess says, snapping her fingers, and just after she does, there's a quick hurricane of snow and an explosive burst of wind. Kimonos and Stefen now both stand outside with him still holding the bow. "That was amazing," Stefen says wide-eyed. "The divine power of winter," she says, handing him a quiver full of arrows. It is made of what looks like a fox fur lined with bison hide, yet the fur shines unnaturally silver like that of the squirrels he had seen in the mountains. "Knock an arrow, draw the bow, and take aim, but do not fire," she commands. "Yes, my lady," Stefen says, aiming at a tree 20 feet ahead of them. "It is designed to empower those of true faith, only useful when wielded by one deeply devoted to the gods. You may fire when ready," she says. He takes a calming breath, continuing to aim. Instantly, the arrow is covered in frost and snow, so cold that a soft, freezing fog drifts from the arrowhead. He releases it, allowing the string to slip loose between his fingertips. The arrow is launched, the force of winter's fiercest storm backing it, hurtling it forth like a shooting star through the night sky. The arrow easily pierces the trunk, following through to exit the back of the tree. Stefen has never seen such speed and power within a weapon, especially one being wielded by his hands. "Thank you, my lady," he says. "What have I done to deserve this?" he asks. "There is a wicked sorceress that lives in these mountains, in a horrible castle near the land of many seasons," she explains, Stefen remembering the wicked castle. "She walks in shadow, obstructing her movement from my eyes, yet I feel she comes close to achieving great power. During your last journey, she left her castle for some time before returning and carrying out a great ritual. Now she commands wicked beasts and vile creatures. To what end she seeks, I do not know. On my return here, these horrible monsters covered the mountains. Though never daring to obstruct my way, they were endless in number. It is because of this that you have been given such formidable protection. The time of the ritual of alignment is nearly upon us. Thus, you must leave for the river in the morning. Should these monsters stall your journey, preventing you from enacting the ritual, it will be another year before you may attempt it again. Should you face any such creatures along your path, You must be prepared enough to defend yourself, Kimonos says. Thank you, my lady. I shall take great care of this gift, Stefen says, beaming with joy. May I stay out and practice for a while? He asks. No, of course not, she says. You shall practice in the shooting range, she adds, her face breaking into a smile as she leads Stefen to an unexplored section of the grounds. Walking through the courtyard, still decorated with icy statues of many shapes and forms, Kimonos leads him to a frozen pine tree at the furthest edge of the grass. It stands, towering, covered in snow but made of solid ice like the rest of sculptures and statues. The crystalline tree stands at least 30 feet over them, and as Kimonos leads him closer, Stefen sees a small archway carved through its icy trunk. After they cross through the door, they come to a large open field, neatly kept and lined with snow-covered trees. These prevent you from seeing anything beyond the shooting range. Stefen counts 10 large circular bales of hay, all of which are systematically spaced so that there are 15 feet between each one. Here you shall learn to master your skills with the bow, she explains. You will need them to be successful in many of your adventures to come. So practice, my wise apprentice, for soon the next step shall be upon us in the path toward devotion.